Councilmember Shade, I'm going to have to sign off at about 6:30 if that's okay.
I hope that we're going through the main parts of all this, Councilmember Griffin. So thank you. By
Yes,
6:30.
sir.
All right. All right, Eric, so we are live now?
We are both live on Zoom as well as on YouTube. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call to order the West Ashley Revitalization Commission meeting on this, the 8th day of September, 2021. I welcome all of you, particularly my commission members, for joining in, and for the many folks who are listening in, and particularly my colleagues from City Council. I appreciate y'all joining in on participating in this commission meeting. Before we get started, one matter I just want to make reference that this is Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which I believe Councilmember Pell ends tonight at sundown. Am I correct on that? And it is the time for prayer and reflection as we start a new year for all of us, I would hope. And our prayers are with our Jewish colleagues and Jewish citizens and Jewish friends. God bless you all. And on a matter of personal privilege, in the Catholic tradition, today is the feast day of the Blessed Mother, which is also my mother's birthday. So 100 years ago today, my mother was born. She died in 2009. But I think if I did not recognize my mother on her 100th birthday, I would get slapped by somebody, and I didn't want to take that chance. So it's good to remember our parents in those favorable lights, obviously, and particularly on a occasion of the 100th birthday. So excuse me for taking that matter of personal privilege, but I thought I better just mention those two things. So thank you all for your indulgence. We reached out to several of my colleagues because we are going to take up this issue on a memorandum of understanding on Sumar Street project at our real estate committee meeting on Monday, and then in front of the full Ways and Means Committee meeting on Tuesday. So I'm very much appreciative that Councilmember Shealy, Councilmember Griffin, Councilmember Appel, I hope I didn't leave anybody out, have joined us as well. They're not members of our commission, but we welcome their participation and we welcome their input as well. So thank you all, gentlemen, for joining in. We do not have any minutes from our previous meeting to review or vote on. Am I correct on that, Eric?
Correct, sir. We have not received those yet.
Okay, all right. And today is Councilmember Brady's wife's birthday. Councilmember Brady, make sure I got that right as well.
That is correct. That is correct.
And he's going to have the bug out soon as well. So we don't want to get him in any hot water with his wife. We will start off with an update from Mr. Turner. There you are. I see you in my Hollywood Squares, to give us an update on what is going on with the suicide merge area that I called, with the area around Orange Grove Road, Old Town Road, Sam Rittenberg, and the other roadways around that area. So we really do appreciate the county's cooperation and collaboration with us. I have said this several times. Back in March of 2016 was my first meeting with Mr. Turner's office when we talked about this particular intersection, and we've been progressing very methodically since that time. So, Mr. Turner, thank you for your cooperation and collaboration with this project, and I'm going to turn it over to you to give us an update of where we are with this.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and the collaboration we've had over the number of years. It has been a good, but I do have a few more updates than just the Old Town District Improvement Project.
Okay.
I don't like calling it the suicide merge.
I know you don't. And Councilman Moody has admonished me on that several times, by the way. So.
See if I can share my screen here. Can y'all see that the beginning of the presentation? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, so thank you again for having me tonight, and I've got about 10 slides. We'll go through them fairly quickly on some updates in the area in West Ashley. The first one I'll start with is the Main Road Corridor Segment A, which is what we call it, but it's also probably historically more or less known as the 17 Main interchange or intersection there. So what you see on the screen is the preferred alternative that we're moving forward with. We've got 30% plans for that project. Basically, this is the new interchange to fix what's happening or what's been happening for a long time there at 17 and Main. The traffic on both Main Road and 17 gets backed up pretty badly during the peak hours of the day and really throughout the day. So we've got a new interchange that's proposed there. For more detail, we do have a website, mainroadcorridor.com, that you can go to, and you can dive into this a little bit deeper than what you can see on the screen. But it's a new interchange that comes back up toward the kind of the viaduct here, the railroad overpass, a large interchange. So if you're headed southbound on 17, you'll merge to the right and cross over. And essentially you won't stop until you get, and you really don't stop here. We're proposing a roundabout there at River and Chisholm and Main Road. So if you're headed toward Johns Island, you really don't stop. You go through the roundabout and continue forward. Same thing coming the other direction. You have a merge as you would on, similar to an interchange on an interstate. So you're fast moving on and off of Highway 17 and Main Road. Here, I'll highlight this. This is actually a bridge here. So if you're on Main Road and going to Beach Ferry Road, you will cross over 17. And what this does is it does not stop traffic on 17. So that morning rush that we see coming from Hollywood Ravenel area would be able to go right through there. And if you're going to going over to Beach Ferry Road, you'll continue forward without stopping as well. So where we are on the plan is we're working with SCDOT and Federal Highway on whether to bid this as a design build or design build project. So we're meeting with DOT in the next couple of weeks to finalize that decision. And that will really determine what the schedule looks like as to when we would bid this project out. If we do a design build, then we'll be able to bid it out sooner, but it will be a designer and a contractor put together. So that designer would finalize the design of this project and permit it and begin construction as soon as feasible. The other way would be design build, which is we take out a lot of risk out of that, but we continue moving forward as we have been. And then we would just bid the project based off the final plans. So the next one, Councilman Shade, you spoke about is the Old Town District improvement. So this is what this project looks like today. I mean, it has a lot of improvements there. Very notably there at Sam Rittenberg and Orange Grove Road with the dual lefts coming off of Orange Grove as you come from the Orange Grove Elementary School side. And then in addition, the widening of the road there by the CVS. So you'll have more capacity there for that right turn movement onto Sam Rittenberg, which will allow folks making the left to not be blocked by right turners. It also has a significant amount of improvements along each route. A realignment here of Charlestown Drive and Donahue is currently an offset intersection. So we show that being lined up. We have shared use paths that run essentially from Donahue all the way through to tie into the frontage road here at also the Kick and Chicken CVS area on that side. We have shared use paths on this side of the road with a path that leads back over to Orange Grove Road and back up to Orange Branch, where there's currently a crosswalk today. So from a bike ped standpoint, it reconnects the neighborhoods that are there today. We also show the improvements that we coordinated with the planning office on Sumar Street. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Includes a new signal there at Amberley. Excuse me. Amberley. And so from an overall standpoint, it's just from a bike ped standpoint, it provides some connectivity and fills in all the gaps where there's some sidewalk today or paths today. So it really fills in the gaps between Donahue and here. And then, like I said, we've got the frontage road that leads you all the way down to the Scottish Rite Center. So you've got a really comfortable feel for bike ped all the way through and up to Charlestown Landing, where there's currently a path today. There is another project that we're working on that extends that path to the Charleston County Parks and Rec site there on Old Town Road as well. So that project's moving forward. We have 30% plans on that. We'll be doing a walkthrough of the project on site to make sure we're, from a constructability standpoint, that it makes sense and begin moving that forward. County Council this year, they funded $5 million toward this project, which is unfortunately only about half of what we need to build the entire project. So we're looking for opportunities to fund the second half of that, and or phase the project into two segments. So we're looking for some donations there from City Council, if there are any. But particularly looking at the schedule, we could be at, I'll say, a year from now, we could be bidding that. We show bid out in 23. I think it would be early 23 at the latest if we continue to move forward with our plans and right away as we have them today. So moving on to Glen McConnell Parkway, another large project, and of the second half-cent sales tax, this is the first featured project that we'll actually bid for construction. And it's actually sitting in our procurement office today. So it'll be advertised. Hopefully by the end of this month, we'll have this on the street for invitation for bid for a contractor. This is the widening of East Ferry Road, and it essentially picks up where the last project ended there between Magwood Drive and Essex Farm Road, where we'll be widening it from a 4-lane highway or 4-lane divided highway to a 6-lane divided highway. And you'll have a shared use path that'll run from on this side or the bottom half of the screen, the thin blue line there, shared use path that'll run up the entire length of the project all the way to just past Lowe's at Magwood and Henry Tecklenburg. Savannah Highway Capacity Improvement. This is a large project, and it started a bit as a study to understand exactly what could we do between, say, Savage Road all the way to Avondale Road. We looked at every intersection along the way to see what made sense, what could we do with the funding there without a wholesale widening of Savannah Highway that would disrupt every business throughout the entire corridor. So we looked at all of those intersections. We've narrowed it down to 3 that we're recommending moving forward with. And I'll show you those in just a second. We had 3 others right there at 526 that we have removed from our recommendation, essentially because they will be part of the Mark Clark extension project. So they will be encompassed into that project. So therefore, there's no need to do anything at those intersections at Ashley Town Center Drive and Sam Rittenberg and the next intersection there. So those 3 were also, we showed benefits in that area, but those will be encompassed within the Mark Clark extension project. The other intersections along the way, such as Savage Road, we have a project there that we're moving forward with for improvements that's separate from this. It also includes a right turn lane there coming off of Savage Road and sidewalks down Savage Road. So that's another project that was pulled out of this larger Savannah Highway capacity, but is still moving forward. The remaining intersections along there were basically the benefit wasn't there. And so I'll move forward with the 3 that are the most benefit, and this is a schematic that they're at Avondale and Magnolia Road. And it's really a realignment, if you will. And I'll kind of walk through this, and then I'll get into some of the numbers. But Nicholson Street and Avondale Avenue, it's a realignment that we've been working with the city planning office on this idea for some time now. And Mr. Kronsberg, who owns a number of the properties here, has been part of this conversation to help us move this forward. But it's a realignment here, which gets rid of that very odd closely spaced intersections there, which cause us a tremendous amount of delay as you're coming up and down Savannah Highway. So a realignment there of Nicholson and Avondale, some changes there at Maple Street and how it comes out, and then realigning Magnolia. It's such an awkward intersection today, so we are showing kind of realigning that so that it tees up directly here with a signal, which it does have a signal today, but you'll be able to create a four-legged intersection there, or for pedestrians, which will make it a much safer for pedestrians that come across that intersection. The gap between the two signals is a little bit greater than it is today, so which provides us the ability to gain some efficiencies as we go through there. You can see the sidewalks through here along each side that's in pink. The green is what it is. It's a green, kind of a bit of a green space. The area there in front of the Ashley shops, the parking would remain as it is today, but you wouldn't be backing out into the road as you do today. For folks that if you've been there, you know there's a lot of folks that make that right turn very quickly today as you come around Gerald's Tire, and if you're trying to back out of one of these spots, it's a little dicey. So this takes that out of play. The pedestrian, like I said, the pedestrian experience there will be much better than it is today. Some changes here on there within the neighborhood to help realign that intersection as well. So from the number standpoint, you can see where we see the benefit. If we do nothing, we're at Magnolia will be at a level of service D, both the AM and PM peak hours. With the improvement, we're up to a B. So what that means is the queue length, or the amount of time. So we're going from basically in the PM 50 seconds down to just around 12 seconds. Now these are estimates, so don't hold me to them to that level, but that's what our model is showing, is significant improvement in the amount of queue time there at that intersection. And then when you get to this one, and during the PM, the biggest issue that I see is if you're coming from downtown into West Ashley, you get stopped in this area in front of Blessed Sacrament trying to get past this intersection. So we show a significant improvement for that traffic flow. And conversely, if you're going downtown in the morning, you see the from a C to an A. So to find an A and a B in 2042 is pretty significant. Same thing here. This one's at Coburg, where you've got D's and C's in the future if we do nothing, and we turn those into B's and C's. Now that's still a C, but it's an improved C from a 35 to a 22-second delay. So significant improvements there, and we're estimating around $6.7 million for these improvements. Now the next project is here at DuPont Road and Stenson Drive. And this is a bit of if you're familiar with it, you know that this is a bit of a skewed intersection, whereas DuPont is shifted, I'll say, to my right as I'm looking at the screen toward Captain D's, and it's oddly odd configuration. So we're looking to align that correctly so that and then build a left turn lane there on the DuPont side. So that will realign that. We will need some right of way there from the Palacios property, the old Hyundai dealership, which will create some green space, and we can create a sidewalk for the length of the project there that'll tie into the existing sidewalks on Stenson that go to the Greenway. And all of these projects we're proposing to do the decorative mast arms and brick stamped crosswalks. From a level of service standpoint, we're C's. We remain as a C in 2042. We have an improved from a C to a B in the evening. But the biggest thing is the safety improvement there, aligning that intersection. And total cost is $1.65 million on this one. The third project and the final of this group is the 17 at Wapu. So This one, we're significantly improving what's happening on the northern end of Wapee Road. Whereas if you come today, you have a very limited amount of space for that left turn lane and the right turn lane. So we're increasing the capacity through here and adding some and widening that approach to 17. So we have a little bit longer space there for folks to collect before they make their turns left and right. So what happens today is there's a lot of left turners that'll back up and it'll stop the folks that are trying to go through or make a right. So this corrects that issue. We don't see a dramatic improvement there, but it is an improvement over what we would expect to see, especially in the PM, where you go from an E at a 74 down up to a D at 38 seconds. So significant there. And the other part of this is the bike ped ability or improvements there that connect the West Ashley Bikeway, 4-legged crosswalks, and then an 8-foot path or sidewalk, if you're a wide sidewalk that connects from 17 all the way down to West Ashley Greenway. So providing that vital connection or that widened section there between the Greenway and the Bikeway is a significant improvement along this route and at this intersection. The total cost there is 1.726 as it in its current estimate.
Hey, Richard.
Yes, sir.
The name after La Fontana, Clarence J. Shahid, is Clarence J. Shahid, same as my name.
Yes. Sorry, I missed that.
I picked it up.
My daughter dances at that studio, so I see that. I see that a good
Yeah.
bit. Apologize for that. We'll get that.
That's all right.
So that concludes what I have to share with you. I'm happy to answer any questions or if you have any thoughts about any of the other questions about other projects I didn't present on, I'll do my best to answer any questions.
Before I open it up, and I see Councilman Shealy's hand up. Richard, what is I was trying to write down all the cost estimates for this. Did you have a running total?
It's about 11 million between with the three projects together.
And the other one, the Old Town District improvement was 10 million.
Correct.
And then the
We
Highway
have 5
17.
million. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say we have 5 million of the 10 million needed for that project.
All right. Councilmember Shealy, I see that you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Richard, for all your work, man. You're doing a lot of work. I appreciate everything you're doing. Just wanted to ask, I know this is a DOT project, but it's something we've talked about. Is there any further word on the Glen McConnell flyover over Magwood and Henry Tecklenburg? Is there any possibility there? That affects, I mean, it certainly affects my district, but it affects everyone in the West Ashley area because you have the majority of kids that are middle school and above going to either West Ashley High School or going down to the middle school, or now the the Center for Advanced Studies that's down there. So it affects every single person in West Ashley. So I just didn't know if we had anything further, any possibilities of that flyover being complete on both sides.
I am not aware of any changes in their stance on it being included in the Low Country Corridor, but I've made a note of that, and I'll touch base with Joy Riley, who's my counterpart at the DOT, and I'll be glad to share that with Eric so he can share the response to this entire group, if that's okay.
All right, thank you, Richard. Appreciate it.
Hey, Eric, I just saw a message from Councilmember Griffin that he got shut out. Can we get him back in?
Yeah, I will take a look for him in the attendee list areas.
Councilmember Waring, Commissioner Waring.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Mr. Turner, for the presentation. Man, that's a shot of adrenaline to all of us. Can you go? I've got a bunch of questions. Can you go back to Avondale and let's work our way back down to Wapoo?
And Richard, I had unshared your screen, so you'll have to reshare it.
Got it. You see that now?
Okay, yeah, if you go back to the, yeah, that one. Okay, the one where the fire station is and you realign in that street, which all of this is right, great, I think. The old road bed, and I guess the part of, I still call it the old Krispy Kreme
I do too.
location right there. I suspect that will eventually be an out parcel that the highway department will own once the realignments are completed. I know that's the old road bed where you had the icon,
here.
right? I'm just wondering if there's once built, if there's a large enough out parcel, maybe where the city can come in and put a slight parking deck right there to help out with parking in a very popular area right there.
Councilman Waring, I'll go ahead and step in for that one. That actually has been part of the plan with realigning Avondale Avenue in that fashion, is that we would that would allow a parcel large enough to have a parking deck that we could then partner with private ownership or operators to help us construct and run. And it would be a
maybe the city,
activated parking deck.
Or maybe the city come in and every parking deck virtually on the peninsula the city has participated in. I think this would be the first West Ashley. So anyway, I think the city should have a role to play there.
Oh, most definitely. That's been our intention. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, great. Going to the realignment of Magnolia and 17. No, you're still on the same drawing, right? If you're coming from town and you bear right by Gerald's right there, explain the sidewalk situation up in there again, please.
So today, can you see my cursor?
I can.
So today you make that very quick right turn right in front of Gerald today. So the pink, what we're showing is creating a curb through here and a sidewalk so that it takes you to this point, and you're having to make basically a 90-degree turn versus maybe a 30-degree slip to the right that most people take at a little bit higher speed than maybe you would want to see if you were a pedestrian in this area or trying to back out of that. So this corrects that situation, so it makes it a 90-degree turn for everyone coming in and out of Magnolia Road.
Okay, so as the sidewalk feeds from that newly created intersection and continuing down Magnolia Road,
yes, sir.
At what point in time, if it were available, it could convert to a bike pedestrian path going down Magnolia Road? I know that's not part of the presentation, but there's been some talk about creating bike pedestrian path along Magnolia all the way up to the bikeway, which in effect people could get on the bikeway and go down the Walpole Road and all of that. But so it's just right now, will there be a sidewalk beyond this pink?
Well, what we're showing is the sidewalk there that connects over, crosses the entrance to this little parking area that basically dead ends there at the pizza place, the old theater there, and ties into the sidewalks that are in front of Ashley Shops, and then continues on and connects to the existing sidewalk on Magnolia.
Okay, so there will be a connection to the existing because it kind of looked like for a minute there we wasn't at least from my mind anyway. Right where you are now, continuing up, there will be a sidewalk going, yes, right, in the direction
right there.
Okay.
That's the existing sidewalk there at the shops. We don't show a new sidewalk being constructed through there. We were just tying it directly into the existing one that's directly in front of the shops.
So the to the left of the icon, your arrow, those people will back out into the streets like they do now?
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay. So if you can go down the Walpole Road in a second. Yeah, okay. As you again headed south, I guess on 17, the sidewalks that you're going to create by La Fontana, right? Restaurant, and come on that side. Eventually, hopefully, there'll be a sidewalk that'll go all the way down to what will be, some people call it Radio Park, but the old WPAL radio station down there. The city bought it a number of years ago, and eventually, hopefully, going to do some renovations there. But right now, there's a portion, a goodly portion on Walpole that does not have sidewalks. And it'd be great if some sort of connectivity. We got sidewalks, but if we can create bike and pedestrian sidewalks,
Right.
use the same space. The sidewalk is normally what, 4.5 feet, something like that.
5 feet is what we shoot for. Sometimes we narrow that down for trees or power poles, but 5 feet is what we typically place just for a standard sidewalk. And
right.
these
I
are
know
8 feet.
I know if we get if ideally bike pedestrian is what, 10 feet, but man, we get 8 to 9 feet. That'd be such a big improvement. Is there a sidewalk on the south side of that proposed sidewalk now? Where you have the pink?
No, there's not a sidewalk along the right side there. There is the sidewalk along the opposite side that goes from 17 down to, I think it's around Garden Street is where it ends, just
Right.
before you cross over to Capri Isle, and that where it gets really
That's right.
tight with the marsh.
Right. But eventually, I know that's not part of this project, but if you put money in that area, sure it'd be good to make it accommodate bikes and pedestrians. We're kind of building it the way we built it, years ago. And I guess you say, well, hey, you got nothing now. I hear you. Or I hear myself on that. But if we're making improvements, why would we make it accommodate bikes and pedestrians? That's all. And then go to Savage Road, please. Savage and 17.
I don't have one at Savage and 17.
Well, you had a drawing
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I've got this
that's
to
what
show
you had.
the
Okay.
location.
That's
but
fine. That's fine. You said it was being taken out of this project, but they still will build sidewalks between Savage and, I guess, 61.
That's correct. That's where we're headed. I don't
Okay.
think we get all the way to 61 with that, but we're starting on the 17 end and heading in that direction with kind of bit of a phased approach to get as far as we can down Savage Road.
Well, when they get to Savage, or does it come to Savage and what used to be the back entrance to the Waring Senior Center? We've had a number of requests where, for construction purposes, there was an entrance there. But there's talk of wanting a pedestrian entrance where people from Savage and the surrounding neighborhoods, you don't have to get out on Glen McConnell to get to the senior center, especially if you're on a bike or pedestrian. So if that sidewalk, right now there's no sidewalk that'll get
Right.
you from, let's say from Orleans Road, where Brighton Place is, which is a county affordable housing senior apartment complex. If they wanted to walk via sidewalk to go to which is about, I don't know, 3 blocks maybe, to the Waring Senior Center. Right now they have to go out and go around, to Glen McConnell, Savage to Tecklenburg, and it's a goodly distance going that way versus the sidewalk that's potentially proposed. And I believe we can work with St. Francis to get a pedestrian entrance on that side if the sidewalk was there.
Right.
So in planning that, it would try to get it at least from Brighton Place or Orleans Road to at least where you would enter St. Francis campus from that rear entrance. Just a note, that's all.
I'm making notes right now. I'll sit down with our project manager on that tomorrow and go through those plans and see where we are and how it ties into the back end of the Waring Senior Center and see if we can make some changes there. It would help facilitate that.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Waring, that's quite a laundry list.
I actually have one on Sumar Street. There was a kind of lavender raised area. I suspect that was a crosswalk or something, Mr. Turner.
It's the whole area around Sumar Street is going to be a huge improvement with crosswalks. I don't know if they're raised crosswalks. I don't think that's going to happen. But one of the main problems, Councilmember Waring, is that particular intersection of San Rit and Sumar And also further down, if you can barely see it, that Amberley Road and I'm sorry, Amberley Road and San Rittenberg as well. So those improvements are going to help with our plans for the Sumar Street site that we will talk about in a few seconds. And also that pedestrian bike crosswalk coming off of Orange Grove Road
Okay.
behind Obiolo.
All right. Mr. Turner, through design, are we trying to hopefully slow down traffic on Sam Ritt?
We're not trying to slow down traffic in that particular sense. It's what we're trying to do is create connectivity from these various neighborhoods to have access to the Sumar Street site and to also have access to the new county park and the Charlestown Landing as well. So it's more of a connectivity issue than, which may have a natural impact of slowing down traffic, but that's, the goal is not necessarily to slow down traffic, it's more to create connectivity among these areas.
Well, let me ask that right at Amberley, we're gonna have an intersection, right?
Yes,
Is it gonna
sir.
be stoplight? Okay.
That's what
Yeah.
we're showing, is
I think
stoplight
that's
there. And to speak to the slowing or traffic calming, that is part of, is one of the goals as well as this project.
Okay, that's great.
We are looking at reducing lane widths down. I mean, they're at the widest as they possibly could be. So we're looking at reducing those down to 11-foot lanes. There are 12s today. But we're looking at doing that and then creating some more landscaped areas. The thought there is, sidewalks, the landscaped areas in the medians that aren't currently there today. And also creating some, and Eric may give me a hard time for engineer saying a planning thing, but create some verticality with some landscaping through there to hopefully we'll have some traffic calming effect to bring folks down to at least the posted speed limit. I don't think necessarily know that they're always going that today.
Yeah, when you leave Orange Grove, man, it's a racetrack until you get to the next intersection. What is that, Charleston Boulevard or whatever it is? Anyway, you said sidewalks. You said sidewalks, but do you mean bike pedestrian paths?
I do. I'm sorry.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it does on the screen. It does. Shared use path is what we do have planned for here.
Okay, great. Good. Boy, if we didn't do that, it's a missed opportunity. Thank you.
Councilman, I've got Councilmember Griffin.
No problem. I'm finished. Thank you.
Okay. I don't mean to catch you off, and I do want to give everybody an opportunity to jump in. So Councilmember Griffin and then Commissioner DeStefano's next.
It's always a pleasure to go after Councilmember Waring because he asks all of the great questions. I just have a couple of very quick ones. Number one, Mr. Turner, can we get a copy of your presentation so that we can look at it further?
You can, and I supplied that to, I'll supply that to Eric so he can distribute it.
That'd be perfect. Just a follow up on Wapu Road. That light there, that traffic light. I've had a lot of people ask me about a left turn signal on that traffic light. Is that in the works at that intersection of Wapu and 17?
I won't say it's in the works, but it's a discussion we're going to continue to have with DOT. When I've discussed with them in the past, we have not been able to provide justification that it was necessary to meet the standards of the manual on uniform traffic control devices. To get a little geeky there, but that's kind of the box we have to check with them to make that happen. I've heard that request to Councilman Moody a number of times, and so we've been working with our counterparts at DOT to see if that could happen. So I won't say it's in the works, but it's on the list of things that we're going to continue to have discussions about as we move these plans forward.
And y'all have already brought that to their attention, so I appreciate that because we get a lot of requests about that same thing. There's a lot of backup of traffic there at Wapu and 17.
And
Thank you.
Councilman Griffin, I'll just add to your discussion about that in Plan West, actually, there are specific improvements, and I think that is something we've been discussing at that particular area, right where the West actually Bikeway comes into behind the money title loans place as well. So as Mr. Turner mentioned, part of this project is to tie in to the Bikeway to the Wapu side of all that as well. So it's, I mean, the Stenson Street side as well. So
Thank you.
yeah. Thanks for your question. I appreciate y'all's participation with this. Commissioner DeStefano?
Yeah, that's why I don't like going after Councilmember Griffin, because that was the point I was going to bring up, Mr. Turner. I actually had some pretty heated conversations with DOT a while back. Same issue, the left turn signals both ways coming off of Wapu. Some of the studies I saw were, it seemed like the time of day when they were conducting those studies. I think one was actually done on a Sunday, which didn't the data that was supplied. But to echo Councilmember Griffin's concerns, we get that a lot also, even from the PSD side, although that's not our purview. I can tell you the residents on both sides of Wapu Road would really, really appreciate that if that can be incorporated. So I echo Mr. Griffin, Councilmember Griffin's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Richard, there was a question that popped up. Will the introduction of a signal at Sam Rittenberg and Amberley prohibit a future signal at Sam Rittenberg and Sumar?
There will not be it will not prohibit it, or that doing that doesn't prohibit it. It's prohibited as it is today.
Right.
Because of the distance between the signal here, where 7 and 171 cross, and there at Sumar, that distance won't allow for a signal to be placed at that location.
That's what I remember you telling me in the past. Someone raise that again. Any other commission members or any other city council members have a question for Mr. Turner?
I got one last one, Council.
Okay.
If you go back to Wapu and 17, please. Thank you. Are we doing anything by design to make it easier for people on the West Ashley Bikeway to cross 17 to get to the Greenway?
We have the crosswalks there, the new delineated with the brick stamp crosswalks, and then just the 8-foot path is what we're proposing through there to connect the two.
Okay, so I mean they'll have a button they can push to control them.
Absolutely, just as you do at a pedestrian pedestrian signals, those will be at each of these corners. And I'm gonna tell you all this. I mean, what I've shown you in those three are just conceptual plans. So there's going to be some opportunities for us to tweak these, and as we move forward, we'll be working with city staff to help tweak these to what they need to be in the end. So all those comments, questions, those are great, and we'll make sure we address those as we move forward.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you for all y'all doing. This is great movement.
Richard, that was a very thorough and comprehensive report. And for those who are listening in, you can see the amount of work that we've been dedicating in the cooperation between the city and the county on all these projects. Thank you, Richard. To follow up on Councilmember Waring's question, we did have some discussions about on the other side, on the St. Andrews Boulevard side of connecting the bikeway as you cross over. And I think we've been paying attention on focusing on Sycamore Street and improving that particular intersection as well. So, because when your question sort of reminded me about that, we've been working on that project as well. So thanks for bringing that back up.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the commissioners for Mr. Turner? Because we can move on to the Sumar Street redevelopment project next.
Yes,
Hamilton?
question. Yes. What is the tentative timeline for these various projects? Or have none been established?
Well, any particular one? The three is we're probably, I'm gonna say 2 years away, breaking ground on these three here, maybe longer on the Avondale. Because the significant right-of-way impacts and changes that would happen there at the old Krispy Kreme and the bank and things of that nature that may have impact there. That one will take a little bit longer to develop than this one. I hopefully we can, as we move forward, we can have some good conversation with Mr. Palacios on this property here to move this one forward. It's other than his property, we really don't have any right-of-way impacts. So this one could potentially move forward pretty quickly. Same thing here. We do have a bit of right-of-way as we show the red line is new right-of-way acquisition there at the La Fontana and the residence there along Wapu Road. So I'll have to have some conversations there as to see how that moves forward. But the others, the Glen McConnell, that's in our procurement office for advertisement as soon as possible. We've asked them to make that the #1 priority. So we hope to have that advertised for construction bids by the end of this month. The Old Town District, we are probably a year to 18 months away from bidding this project. And then the main road corridor, this one really depends upon what delivery method we end up on, whether it's design bid build or design build.
Yeah.
And we could, if it's design build, we could be advertising this thing in 22. My hope, but then it would probably take another year before we'd actually break ground. So we're probably 2 years from breaking ground on this one on the short end.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Ms. Hamilton. Any other questions from any commissioner members?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but Mr. Turner made mention, and it was a veil mentioning, but I think about county having money to do a certain amount. I think maybe we were talking about Sumar Street. You said it was going to take about 10 million, and you had about 5 million in hand, and about the city participating in that. Can we actually get a better explanation on that one? Because it is the strength, hopefully, of this revitalization committee that takes that message forward. We're in the budget process now, as our chairman knows, and if the city can participate to help this come along a little bit sooner, we need to do so. So if we get back to the money on this side, Mr. Turner, I thought this was the project you made mention about having some in hand and needing some help.
That's correct. This year, county council voted to put $5 million into this project, and it's a $10 million price tag. So we're halfway there on completely funding all the improvements. We have looked at the opportunity to phase it. The first or one of the phases would be the intersection here, redoing the intersection, and then basically getting us to about this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second phase, or depending upon which one moves forward first, would be the remaining impact, including the Sumar Street, the Amberley Signal, and the realignment there of Donahue and Charlestown Drive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's opportunities to move it forward with our current funding, but it wouldn't be the full project.
And I think, Councilman Waring, that we've got to sit down with city staff and county staff and figure out what we can do, because it would be my preference to get this thing funded and off the ground as soon as possible.
I agree. And
because it's going to have an impact on our redevelopment plans for Sumar Street, but also, as Mr. Turner pointed out, it's going to have an impact for access to that new county park that's being planned as well. So there's a lot of benefits moving forward with this project and funding as fully as possible.
So let me, one thing to share though is we're going to continue moving forward as if it was one large project. So we're going to continue developing the plans to 100% for both for the project as a whole. Where we'll need the money is on the construction side, the acquisition, the little bit of right of way that'll be necessary, and the design that's fully funded for the entire project, and we can move that forward. So that's not going to slow down. It'll just be, we need to identify the other half of the funding to do the entire project as one construction project.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. That being said, Eric, can we move on to item 3B?
Yes,
and
sir.
I think I do see Julia Copeland available somewhere. I think she's either on her phone or
She was able to join us, so.
And the mayor has signed on as well. So I know
Yes,
he was
sir.
tied up in another meeting with that. So you want to start the ball rolling on this one, Mr. Eric?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
One moment, do a screen share again. All right. Go. So, what I wanted to do for this one was to go over where we've been with the Sumar Street parcel and where we're going to be going. So this is the very long timeline that we have for the project overall. So you guys can see just kind of where we were at with various aspects of it. So it goes all the way back to 2017 when the city purchased out the parcel. After that, we adopted Plan West Ashley. And then 2018, we moved through a demolition. We had to get contract bid out. We had to do all that good stuff. Starting February 20th of 2018, we actually placed a notice for demolition services. So from just after Plan West Ashley was adopted or before, we were in the process of demolishing the structure. After that, we entered into a very robust public workshop to gather what the public would want to see happen on the site. I have some slides a little bit later on for that one. Worked through those. We worked closely with Mr. Turner to make sure that the program that the residents of the area and the residents of West Ashley wanted to see happen on this would continue to be able to occur with a partnership with the county to get the roads realigned. At that time, it was a much more substantial impact on the parcel itself. So we went through that process. We also had help from the Urban Land Institute to try and really skinny down our options and our form for what the private market would want to see happen here, because a big segment of what the population wanted to see was small business investment at this location. We then had a presentation to council to show you what we had been working on up to that point before we did a release for request for qualification. After that, we had Landmark Enterprises, who'll be able to talk a little bit later in this presentation again. They came on board. We worked through with them some background on the what we wanted to see happen at this location. And then we entered into contract negotiation after June of last year. So to go back in time now on the presentation, we had a very robust public input process for about a solid 30 days in 2018. It's a good month there. We had a survey up online. In addition to the survey, we had a 3-day workshop where we encouraged residents to come in, tell us what their idea was for the site. And with Alan Davis of our Civic Design Center and his other urban designer, Morgan Gunlock, we sat down and we would draw up exactly what the residents were talking about on the site to show them, you know, how it could work, if it could work, and if there was ideas, you know, if there was room for more to go on there. Most of the time what we discovered was this site was quite larger than what a lot of residents would want to see happen there. So they would come in, they would say, we want to have, you know, a restaurant or two. Well, we would put the restaurant in the parking lot, and they would see that it could hold quite a bit more. Having a large scale grocer really kind of distorts how large this parcel is and how much activity can occur on it. The survey results that we had came in to just around 930 respondents over 30 days. 733 were just from West Ashley, with the residents of the neighborhoods living close to this, Northbridge, Sandhurst, Park Shore, making up the largest single majority neighborhoods that responded. And what people wanted to see was they wanted to see the area have safe crossings for bicycles and pedestrians. They wanted to see improved landscape. They wanted the intersections to also allow vehicles to travel through as safely and predictably as possible. They also wanted to see passive park, small scale retail, restaurant. We had 708. What was your big idea? This was kind of just a fill in the blank question portion of the survey. And really 7 themes came through of green space, retail, traffic transportation, making sure that we make this a mixed use or traditional neighborhood style development, having a civic or cultural anchor at this location. There were a few people who wanted to see it turn over for residential. And then we had some just miscellaneous ones, such as make sure it looks beautiful, make sure it's useful, things of that nature. So when we put together our first program, we made sure that we distilled it into those categories. So we made sure that it had passive park, small scale, retail, restaurants, as well as a civic or cultural use to it. And what we did was ratio those out in terms of square footages. And at the time, we had 4 design options for the the Sam Rittenberg Old Town realignment, and we produced diagrams showing how we could still meet the intent and desires of the population for the intensity use at this spot. So we showed them, what it would look like if nothing happened, if the road got widened that direction, if Sam Rittenberg really took over and everything had to go down Sumar Street. Or if they're allowed to be a slip lane, but most traffic still had to go down Sumar Street. So we worked through those, and then through the county side, they went through their process and whittled down their 4 options to 2 options. These were the 2 options that came back to us that really showed a much more elongated parcel for the majority of it. And so we went back to the drawing board, this time with ULI as a partner to show how we could get the program onto these. In addition, ULI looked at what would the market want to support at this spot. So we did up design iterations that showed us having a large footprint office along with a parking deck, having just surface parking, having a mixture of both, having even looked at one where we suggested having a mixed use residential and office building. When we presented this one to the West Ashley Commission, the public was very adamant that what they saw for this location did not include a parking deck. They wanted to see something that was in keeping with the West Ashley area, and they wanted to see something that would be more akin to the Avondale development of having surface parking with a lot of mixture of use that was accessible through walking and biking. So for the council members, this one may look a bit more familiar to you than the other ones. This is the one that we presented to you, or Alan Davis presented to you just before we sent out the request for proposal or request for qualification. On it, we showed the parcel as intended. By this point, I believe we already had an inkling from Richard that the parcel itself was going to remain very much in its current alignment as they looked at ways to adapt their project to what you just heard about. So we went through it. We had some suggested square footages. We had some suggested parking for this location for how to achieve it. And when we sent it out, who we got back was with Landmark Enterprises and their team with Stantec and Leolio. And they did their own cursory research to improve upon what we had sent out with the packet, which was, the survey results you just saw, the different iterations that we had done. And once they kind of ran it through their market expertise, this is the ratios and square footages that they came back with in terms of how to achieve the mixture of uses, both in terms of the civic as well as the private commercial development that would go onto it. They presented to us I think 3, maybe 4 options. One that showed the layout very similar to what we had sent out with our RFQ, showing the civic structure up here at the tip of the building or of the parcel. And then having the private investment more fronting along Sumar Street to create a street activation along there. They also did two other proposals, one showing kind of a activated pedestrian alley system, clustering the parking on one end. This one showed the alley system going towards the Civic building on the Old Town side. And the other one would be then on the Sam Rittenberg side. Through debate and discussion at the West Ashley Commission, this is the one that you all agreed was the best plan for the area, saying that Old Town Road has more of a softer feel to it, having the wider pathways, having the parks on it, whereas the Sam Rittenberg side you felt should have much more activity and commercial intensity along it. And this last one, so I've caught you up to where we are at in terms of the different designs. So what we've been working with the Landmark team since then is to really get them into a design contract where we can take it from these kind of just color blocks that are showcasing the square footages into a much more detailed out conceptual plan. And this coming Monday is the memorandum of understanding, which will create a contract of that nature. At this time, and then I'll come back to this slide after Landmark has had a chance to come in and talk with you guys a bit. But the general idea is that this is just showcasing that this is not the last step of the public input process, that we actually have quite a robust review system in here before we break ground. But I will let Jason Ward with Landmark kind of take over at this point.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, Peter. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. Hello, Mayor. Council members. Thank you for having us. This has obviously been a long time in the making, but from Landmark's position, we are extremely excited to be to this point and really, from here, really get the process started. And so we're excited about the plan, excited about the uses, excited about what this does for, this area of West Ashley and this community. And we're ready. We are definitely ready to get going. So, we appreciate everything and happy to answer any questions we could. But, in general, for those of you who don't know, happy to answer any questions about Landmark and what we do and who we are. We like to say we're a full service commercial real estate development company that offers, brokerage, management and development services to the community. And we've been developing in the city of Charleston since 1974, and we've been here for a good bit. This is our backyard, something we care about a lot. We take a lot of pride in bringing these projects to our community that we live and do business in, and they're just excited to be selected and ready to get started. So, other than that, Jonathan is part of our team. He runs our development program. So if there's any specific questions to the project, he'd be well suited to answer those. But, otherwise we're ready to get going. So.
Thank you, Jason. Jude, do you want to give an update on the MOU? Julia? Is she with us?
She is. Ms. Copeland?
Well, maybe she's not with us.
So I do know that it is on the real estate committee agenda for Monday, this Monday coming up, which the council members, I believe you received either this afternoon or tomorrow. No, Julia says she has no volume. I don't know what that means. I guess she's going to back out and come back in. I'll keep my eye out for her. But I do. I guess before we really jump into that, do we have any general questions from either the council members or the commissioners about the everything I ran through very fast there?
That's amazing. I think I see that Julia's trying to log on by connecting to the audio. So while she's doing that, just to give everybody an update, the MOU that Landmark executed will come before the real estate committee meeting on Monday. And from that report, it'll go to the full council as it's part of the Ways and Means Committee meeting for their consideration at that particular point. Julia, are you able to connect to?
Yes, sir. So sorry.
That's okay. The technology is a wonderful.
I love technology. I really do. Okay. So I'm happy to go through a brief summary of the terms of the MOU, if that's what you'd like me to do.
If you would just give sort of the Reader's Digest version of what you sent me yesterday, that would be fine.
Sure. I'm happy to do that. So obviously, there's more work that needs to be put into this. And we are working toward putting together a development agreement and ultimately a ground lease with Landmark. That's the end goal here. But this MOU basically memorializes our intent to do that. So some of the key terms of this MOU are that the parties will endeavor to enter into a lease and development agreement where it will obligate Landmark to manage the turnkey construction of this project and to construct or cause to be constructed the project in accordance with the final approved plans and in direct consultation with the city's designated project manager. It's going to obligate Landmark to complete construction of the project no later than a defined number of months following the execution of the development agreement. It's going to establish a minority and women's business enterprise. It will obligate the city to pay the documented out-of-pocket costs to design and construct the project, and that will be subject to a guaranteed maximum price and cost-saving provision, which council will ultimately consider and approve at a later date. It will provide for the city to ground lease to Landmark the portion of the property necessary for the Landmark project for a period of 99 years on an absolute net basis, but with annual base rent of $10. It will provide that all costs associated with the design and construction of the project will be the responsibility of Landmark, and that all documented out-of-pocket costs and expenses incurred for the design and construction of the project will be the responsibility of the city, but again, subject to the guaranteed maximum price. Any cost savings that we have below the guaranteed maximum price, that will go back to the city. The Landmark will undertake the planning and cost analysis work now. And part of this also is if Landmark has any eligible expenses they would like the city to cover, they will have to present any contracts for proposed eligible expenses before incurring them. And the city has 30 days to approve. And there is a cap for eligible expenses on the workup of this project at $683,000. And then within 60 days after the end of the first phase, which is the planning of the first conceptual idea or plan, Landmark will present a proposed GMP contract to complete design and construction of the city project. And if efforts do fail, the city has to reimburse Landmark for those eligible expenses incurred. And then all of the planning and cost analysis work that went into this will be assigned to the city to do what they will. That's all I have.
That was very quick, and appreciate you running through that. So this was, as I said, will come before the real estate committee meeting on Monday, and then to Ways and Means on Tuesday.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, yes, sir. Councilman Webb.
I just have a question, Ms. Copeland. Can you touch on the 683,000 again? What was that for?
$683,000 was the number that Landmark came to as an estimated expenses incurred to create the construction plan for the first phase. And okay. I believe they submitted, Landmark might be able to address this. There was a workup from a professional architect or engineer that got them to that number. that I believe was presented to Real Estate Committee early on in the discussions.
I mean,
That's correct.
this is a cost, a future cost, or a cost already incurred?
Future costs. It's an
Okay, thank you.
estimated future cost incurred.
That's
Yes,
fine. Thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
I see that
What-
Commissioner Ferriera has his hand up. Justin?
Sure. Thanks. So excited to see everything move forward. Two questions. Is when we're talking about a GMP, is that landmark referring to self-performing as the GC and the developer, or is that a outside GC that they'll be obtaining a GMP from? And then secondly, on the notion of if things fall apart or fail, what does that mean? And by that, I mean, what are the preconditions by which everyone agrees to push forward? Is there a prerequisite of achieved pre-leasing or a budget being hit subject to which Landmark's allowed to walk away? How does that all work?
I can take at least the first one and question and take a stab at the second. Thanks for those questions. To your first question, Landmark would be pulling in a different GC. We wouldn't be self-performing the work, so we would get GMP information from that GC that we're working with. Obviously in concert with the city. To inform that GMP that we would be providing. And then I guess to the second question, the MOU that we're going into now is to get us to the point where we can sign or agree on two documents, a development agreement and a land lease that would be the full deal. And just the question of if council has to approve and those documents. So if we get to a point where for some reason the deal doesn't come together and we can't get to an agreement that the council can approve, then that would be the reason for stepping away, and the MOU suggests what would happen in that case.
And would the reimbursement of costs be an obligation of the city immediately, or in the future, if and when a subsequent developer uses those exact designs to their benefit such that it can be delayed and reimbursed by the new developer?
I would say the former to that question.
It'd be immediate. It'd be immediate reimbursement. If Landmark and the city cannot come to terms, we will be reimbursed. And frankly, we're going to try to work through this quickly and expeditiously so that we can go ahead and try to, work through a development agreement and a land lease to make sure that there's no surprises at the end of this process. We'd like to go ahead and come to terms sooner than later. So the only thing at the end of this is a number that essentially has to be approved by city council at a later date. And I would say the contractor that we've selected is Choate Construction Company. We've qualified and selected them, and they are on board and fully aware of what we're asking of them, and they have stepped into that role to handle all things construction related for this project.
Okay. And Julie, did you want to add something else to that response?
I'm sorry, was that to me? I thought you said Drew.
Yeah. I thought you wanted to add something else to Justin's question.
I thought Jonathan and Jason answered that perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Justin, did I give you an adequate response?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I don't see any hands up from anybody. Any other questions? All right. So there's nothing for us to vote on as a commission. I just wanted to give everybody an opportunity, and Councilman Warren had urged us to make sure that particularly new council members who had not seen this had an opportunity to review this project and get an update from it. And I thought we could sort of kill two birds with one stone by doing it on this format. This is a project that's going to impact all of us in West Ashley. This is just not in District 9, but it's going to have a huge ripple effect once it's up and running to the revitalization of West Ashley. Of course, touches my district immediately. It's right in the heart of my district. But I want all council members to have an opportunity to respond to this, to weigh in on this, to offer their input on it. This is critical, particularly for the West Ashley redevelopment. So thank you all for your
Chairman, let me ask this. Mr. Chairman, let
Yes,
me
sir.
ask this. Because I was a little bit docile because we're going to have a second round of this at our real estate committee. But I guess this is a question for Mr. Ward or Mr. Oakman. What is it we're going to build? We saw several iterations during this presentation. So if I were to say we're going to have agreement coming in front of us, I haven't seen that agreement. Don't really want to talk about it because I have my time to review it. If I were to ask you today, what is it going to be built on that site? What would be your answer to that?
Councilmember Waring, what we're looking at building is.
I know I asked the question of Mr. Ward and Mr.
Okay.
Oakman.
Well, basically what we would be building as you know, as Eric showed us, you know, is the most recent plan is what we are focusing on, which is a grouping of smallish buildings, you know, that include a hearty mix of uses, that being civic space at the top of the area, some office space that would be designated for uses that the city wants to put there, as well as some private sort of neighborhood small office space. And then we would also have opportunity for several local restaurants / bars that, you know, that people could take advantage of in the community, and then as well as neighborhood retail, more or less in the construction that you can see on the screen here. That's the current plan. In addition to that, as you can see here, there's a green space, a lawn area, which is, and as well as some of the parking area that would do double duty as outdoor event space. So we could have community focused events here, such as farmers market or, you know, anything, a bocce tournament, a car show, things that will activate the area and get people out here to meet and commune. I think what we're building here is really, Councilman, is a community focused center that, again, all these mixed uses, you know, come together, you know, in a way that the community can all use them, you know, outside events, interior events, places where people can come and eat and, you know, grab something to drink and meet, as well as, you know, some uses during the day to activate the space, that being either small retail or some neighborhood office, smaller office uses. That's how I would describe the project.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions, comments from any of the commission members or any of my colleagues on city council? All right. Well, very good. Mayor, anything else that you want to add or comment?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Jason and Jonathan, for hanging in there with us to get to this MOU that will take to council next week. I think it's really a fair way to step this project forward, you know, to get us to the next design phase where we would all be comfortable with what we're going to build there and what the pricing will be. Importantly, it's going to be a key issue for both the developer and the city and our partnership going forward. So, and I know Leolio, who, for example, designed the Fire Station 11, is going to do a fabulous creative job designing something that we can all be proud of. I don't know if they're on the line or not, but they've done some wonderful work for the city, and we look to them to really be on their best game on this project to create something that West Ashley would be proud of. So admittedly, this all taken longer than any of us really wanted, but it's really coming together, and I want to thank everybody who's been working on it.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to echo my appreciation to city staff for the work they have done on this project, and from every angle on this. A lot of delays in getting it to this point, but I hope we get in this to the next week where we'll end up with this project getting off the ground. All right, with that being said, Jason and Jonathan, thank you. Mr. Turner, thank you for joining in on the commission meeting. And Julia, thank you for joining in as well. And my other colleagues on city council. And we'll go ahead and move on to an update on other workshops.
Mm-hmm. So for this one, I'm going to turn it on over to Ms. Tidestrom and Mr. Meralda.
Hi, thank you. I want to give an update on Keep West Ashley Beautiful. Obviously, during the summer, the heat has been pretty intense. We have been working on planning. We've got 2 events coming up. The first one is part 2 of the Ardmore Sherwood Forest Sweep. We had 2 of the police department officers who participated with the junior ROTC program, and they would like to do part 2. So we're arranging that, and it's going to be in October. Date to be announced, and it's the neighborhood association along with the PD that's kind of putting this together, but West Ashley Connects will be supplying everything they need to do the sweep throughout Ardmore and the bikeway. The second is something near and dear to my heart. This will be on October the 16th, starting at 9 a.m. and everybody will be meeting at Charleston Sports Pub at 9 a.m. on Saturday, the 16th. This is the memorial sweep for Charlie Robinson. He is the gentleman who was always in Orange, walking down Orange Grove and up to the North Bridge, doing his cleaning, and SCDOT will also be placing a new sign in his honor that weekend. So again, that's going to be October 16th. There will be a gathering at the Rifle Club downtown off Harriet Street in his honor that afternoon for a picnic. But 9 a.m., we will be putting that out for, anybody in the area and different Facebook groups to please show up. And we're working with the Charleston Parks Conservancy, Keep Charleston Beautiful, Adopt a Highway program that's kind of one and the same with Charleston County, Charleston Pride. And we will have events coming up when it cools down. So the second part is our signs project. We have 3 signs, and this is restoring signs in the neighborhoods, kind of pride and ownership. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Kenneth that is heading this up. Kenneth, are you there?
Yep, he's here.
Okay.
I'm here.
He'll start with the Avondale sign.
Okay. So this summer, I undertook the project of refurbishing the copper sign at Avondale Point Business District. It's right on where Triangle is located at the intersection of 17 and Magnolia. It's a copper sign with wooden posts and some caps on it. So I learned how to clean it. I have a relationship with Sherwin-Williams for my job. So I know one of the managers there who was kind of giving me some advice on the best way to clean copper. So in my free time, I decided to clean it, fix it up, refurbish it as best I could. And that was kind of the first one that I started working on. The next one was a column at the intersection of Watery Drive and 17, which was hit by a car a few years ago. And I spoke with the West Oak Forest Neighborhood Association, and they would like to see it replaced. There's a second one. There was a pair of them. One was hit by a car. The other one's still standing, but the top was kind of knocked off. So I spoke with them, and I agreed that I would get some proposals to get the other one replaced. So I've spoken with 2 contractors to get proposals on that. And the third one is Hemmingwood, which is Teresa found the sign. I actually couldn't find it originally, but she had heard that it needed to be repaired. So I drove out there looking for it, and I couldn't find it, but she did. And it's very overgrown. The wood is a little split, needs some new paint, but it's definitely, it can be refurbished. It's salvageable, doesn't need to be replaced. So we're going to start coordinating efforts to do that as well. And that's it. We're looking at some grants for funding. So I've looked into a few options for that. And I think that's where we are with that one. So neighborhood pride project, that's kind of the goal, is so that people can feel a sense of pride in their neighborhood.
Kenneth and Teresa, thank you. Teresa, on the October 16th event, is that going to also include a street sweep as well, or just this could be the ceremony for unveiling the plaque?
No, this is actually a street sweep, and will include most of his family as well. So they're going to start at Charleston Sports Pub and go all the way down Orange Grove. This is also going to include cleaning out 9 of the 14 clogged drains on Orange Grove.
Okay. And at some point, if we could redirect our way down Champion Way, as part of that, or as the next phase of what you're doing, that'd be a big help as well.
Absolutely.
Justin, I see your hand is up.
Sure. So I think Councilman Waring mentioned this last call, but you know, I think South Carolina got $8.9 billion in federal COVID relief, and McMaster specifically said that he wanted that to go around the state to transformative investments. Transformative sounds a lot like revitalize. Is there any use in putting together an application for a much larger scale of what Kenneth was doing on his own, so that you know, there's an army of new signs and empowered cleaning of old signs? I think that would, you know, signage and visibility is a thing that, you know, instills revitalizations coming. It also helps it come, and it seems like it's quite honestly a lot more in line with what the state intended those funds to go towards than a lot of the smaller things that they've been earmarked towards.
Justin, that's a real good point that you brought up, because you're absolutely correct. When people see things cleaned up and signage placed back up and are cleaned, it does provide for a very important visual image of the area, and it does include the sort of feel of we are revitalized, and this is a very visual part of what we're talking about and trying to accomplish. I have not pursued to see what funds are available from the governor's pot of gold that he's sitting on right now, but it certainly is worthwhile to pursue that. We also have done some, as you see behind my head, the branding that we've been working on, and the placement of other signs of the birthplace of South Carolina, birthplace of Charleston, West Ashley signs along the way as well. So that would be incorporated, I think, as part of this overall plan that we're working on. And Teresa, I think you wanted to comment back on that. I see your hand back up. So
yeah,
please.
absolutely. I've been working with Eric with Charleston County. What we found out was that 90% of the issues were related to SCDOT and state funding with the ditches. And this actually includes a lot of the signs. We are finding signs in ditches with weeds grown over it. So right now we've got bent signs in at least 6 different areas that are bent down to the point. I mean, it's pretty atrocious, actually. Old Town and 61 or Sam Rittenberg, those signs are bent, leading to Charlestown Landing, they're bent down. The ones at Highway 61 and Paul Cantrell. 2 are missing, hurricane route, directional, the rest are bent down. I've already emailed Senator Sandy Sen. She is now a part of this, trying to get funding to get all of these signs, at least in West Ashley, fixed. And when I say fixed, I mean, you can't just bring them back up. They're going to have to be replaced because they've been hit so many times that they're bad. So she's now in the mix with this as well. And Justin's right. We've got the funding to do it. And what better way?
And Teresa, the other part of that is that you mentioned the signs that are hit by cars or struck down. The other part of that, and thank God we've been very fortunate with not having a major storm recently, but a lot of those signs, particularly the merge signs at Sam Rittenberg and Old Town Road, were knocked down by just the velocity of those windstorms that came through. It took forever to get DOT to put those signs back up. And this is a little bit out of our area, but if you go across the North Bridge onto the entrance ramps to the interstate, those signs are knocked down as well. And maybe that's a little bit out of our area, but it's still contiguous to West Ashley, and it's a welcoming part and over there. So if we can extend that beyond that, that would be a wonderful project to take on.
I think we need to get very vocal with the signs. We also need to get very vocal with the fact that since our last meeting, we spoke about cleaning out the ditches and, moving on so we can do streetscaping and keep West Ashley beautiful. We found that 90% of everything that we found throughout West Ashley is actually on SCDOT maintained roads, to the point where other members, staff, city staff, including myself, were behind interstate tractors on secondary roads mowing, which created an extreme ugly mess. So I did find out that the 2 contracting companies through SCDOT for West Ashley are waiting to be paid. So if they're waiting to be paid, they bring in interstate equipment that's not made to mow our roads. They've got a pot of money to fix this. I think that it's time to be vocal with South Carolina.
I mean, is there, Teresa, you said you're reaching out and asking for money. I mean, is there, not to throw the whole group on the spot, but is there any reason why we couldn't all sign on to a group letter? We've certainly made group motions for things that seem close to our cause, but I can't think of anything more directly in line with our cause than the notion of, a sign front and center of the location. So how do we get a picture of Kenneth polishing the sign and say, we're turning copper to gold and get some money?
We've got those pictures, actually. We've got many
All right.
pictures. And that letter can be written pretty quickly.
And I think
I'm
that
sure-
has
I'm
to
sure-
also come from us, from city government as well.
Sure.
We've got to put our back into that. I see Councilman Ware, he wants to talk, so we'll let him jump in.
Well, I want to thank Teresa and her team for what they're doing. I mean, that's a lot of hard work, and that's the low hanging fruit, but that's some of the hard job. That's like playing professional basketball and your job is to get the rebounds, you know, so she's catching all the elbows and stuff. So thank you so much for what you and your team and Kenneth, all of you guys are doing. But I do have a question. You know, when signs are knocked down, that's bad, but it's an opportunity. If we were putting up signs today, would we have put up those green signs the way the highway department have them designed? Would they do it like that on Daniel Island?
Nope.
Are they going to do it like that, Councilman, on Laurel Island when it's built? So I think in going back to get the signs built, replaced, I would hope we can have a consensus on what type of signs. Hopefully they're going to be more attractive than the signs that we're accustomed to. One of the ugliest areas of signage that I can think of is when you come on St. Andrews Boulevard and you either go through 61 or go Old Town Road, that can function, whatever they have up there, signage, somehow that's got to be more attractive, can be done more attractively than that. So, in asking for the signs, I certainly would like to go back with something that would, if we were doing West Ashley today, I don't believe we would do those signs that way. If West Ashley was just being built today. Well, look at some of the signs.
Looking at other cities, and there's a pick list with SCDOT on the type of signs. And yeah, you can get better signs.
Right. And
So
as we
why
come
not?
in to follow up on Justin's, it's actually, I wish it was 8 point something, Justin, but it's 2.5 billion. And that money actually is coming in two quadrants. $1 billion is they have in hand now, and they have already determined that the spending priority is going to be water, sewage, and broadband. But that provides an opportunity. There's going to be a $1.5 billion coming. The total was $2.5 billion. 1.5 billion is going to come next year, and that's going to be A to Z. So we still have time to get some sort of request and to not request money for the beautification for the gateway into the birthplace of South Carolina. If that's not a missed opportunity, I don't know what it is. And right now we're in the position where we are not even asking for $5. So this committee has power. We can formulate a request to go to council to be voted on, to be presented in front of the governor and their team. We have Leon Starmanakis, who's on the budget committee. He lives West Ashley. I'm sure he shares some of the same concerns that we do. Okay. To get it in that process, you have to get somebody to get it in the budget. He's on that budget committee. What a missed opportunity. He's not even being asked. Obviously, we have to get a proviso on the Senate side, and then we're off and running. So, anyway, when we talk about the gateway and making it beautiful and all of that, this is the moment, because those requests should be in before the January session starts in Columbia.
And Councilman Waring, to your point, it involves not just these intersections that we're talking about. It involves the entrances on Interstate 26 in both directions. All of this is part of that idea of being attractive to folks coming into West Ashley. As you said, and we have said this 1,000 times, it's a gateway to the birthplace of South Carolina, the gateway to the birthplace of Charleston, and it should be a #1 priority. And we've got our senators, Sin and Kempson and Legislator Bennett and Savannah. We should have their ear on this thing and really hold their feet to the fire on all of that. So this is an opportunity. And
I agree, but Mr. Chairman, if they were to ask us, what's the play we're going to run? We get in the huddle, call the play.
Yeah, that's right.
Score a touchdown. What is that play? I think they look to this committee to call that play. And I think right now we don't have that in the playbook. So,
Well,
but I do think we have a start to it. We do have a lot of pictures. We've got a lot of information on exactly what needs to be replaced and done. We also have the secondary issue of maintenance. They own those roads. They need to maintain it, and they need to maintain it properly with the contract employees that they hired. They need to pay using normal equipment and not interstate equipment that is destroying and making our sidewalks impassable.
or we come up with a reciprocal agreement, which will chop down the time. We do it and they reimburse us. Because
It's up to you. Yep.
I mean, those are some of the plays that we can fight for. When you look at that, the clover leaves around Glen McConnell and 526. The Department of Transportation has done the hard work. They've gone in there and bush hog all the big bushes. You got beautiful crepe myrtles around there now. There is no landscaping in the middle. We don't put the landscaping back. Guess what's going to happen? Weeds grow twice as fast as plants. Okay. So those are key gateway entrances. And I will say this, put this on, I'm going to shut up. This will be my last one. When we come in off of the North Bridge, the weeds are so high now, you can't, the best landscaping we have is what God has given us, the marsh over. We can't see the marsh from the cars. You can look at the gaps between the weeds. We've cut it, we've had a cut before, but it's now back up to, I guess, about 4 feet. Right out there tomorrow and take a look. Okay. If we just cut the grass, not the grass, the weeds, and the baby kudzu, that's what we got going over there. You got a pristine landscape that was provided to us by God. And Peter and I will still continue to push to get that frontage road between
Champion Way.
Get that done. We'll get that done.
So Teresa, why don't we do this? If you've got the pictures and you've got the list, let's circulate that, and then let's as I think Justin commented, let's reach out to our local legislators and get their attention on this right now.
Okay.
If it has be a letter writing campaign or personal contact, let's get that together and we'll organize that.
I do want to say one last thing to you, the mayor, and county. Brantley still on the call?
Yes.
Going through and noticing, who's responsible, who's not keeping up. Literally 90% was SCDOT, 5% was city, and 5% was county. And the 5% on each side with the city and unincorporated county were very minor things of sidewalks, maybe the upkeep of sidewalks, Wildcat Boulevard, going towards Costco. You have to remember we have intersections that are owned by three different municipalities. So it's very, very hard to break down. But the city and the county are keeping up with their landscaping. It is SCDOT, their landscaping, their sidewalks down 61 are not passable. And after they mowed, it became worse. So kudos to the city and the county for keeping up. Let's go after SCDOT, and they own those roads. We need a better West Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks, Teresa. All right, Eric, any other comments from the work groups that we need to address? Does that cover the work groups report?
That was it for the work groups. We do have one public comment from Miss Katie Zimmerman.
Katie? Hi, Katie.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Katie.
Sorry, I'm the only one commenting. I won't keep you on for much longer. I wanted to, I know some of you have already RSVP'd to this, but, and I just wanted to invite all of you. Charleston Moves has 2 events coming up that are related to West Ashley crossings in a couple of months. The first is we're going to do a police escorted bike ride and event over the North Bridge on October 2nd. We would love it if you would bike with us. If you don't want to bike, no worries. Then we'll be meeting up at at Free House Brewery on the North Charleston side to talk about all the ways that you can get involved with working on a new bike ped bridge adjacent to the North Bridge. And then the other one we'll be hosting is November 20th, and we'll be biking over the Wapu Cut Bridge, advocating for a safer way to get across that bridge and ultimately connect to the new Ashley River Bike and Pedestrian Bridge. We're still working out the details with Charleston Police Department on that one, but it will be the same thing where if you don't want to bike with us, you can still join us afterwards and we can kind of hang out and talk through what the plan of action is for that. So I wanted to make sure that you all have those dates on your calendar, and feel free to email me. I'm at katie@charlestonmoves.org, or if you follow us on social media at Charleston Moves, where I can answer any questions you have via email, and we're posting a lot about these events on our social media for any details. And that, by the way, the discussion tonight made me very, very happy. I think it was like 80% bike ped transit discussion. So thank you all so much.
I was waiting for you to chime in, Katie, because I thought, well, maybe you got kidnapped or something, but glad that you're still with us and talked about that.
No, I was too happy to chime in. I've just been sitting here smiling the whole time.
Yes, yeah, we did see that. Mayor, looks like you've got your Walford hat on. I can't tell. You muted.
It says WNC, a little nonprofit that a friend of mine started. That stands for Why Not Charleston.
No.
Wonderful things that can be done in this community. This organization is Christian based, but it's all about making Charleston a better place.
Your volume is down a little low, Mayor. Sorry.
Oh, all right. I took my earphones off. Why not Charleston?
Why not Charleston? Got it. Eric, anybody else who wanted to comment?
Well, we had Michael Toohey was sending quite a few words of encouragement to us during the
I
overall
saw
meeting.
he five times he suggested something. So
and I think we addressed just about all of his questions. The only one that was not addressed is the Hyundai site at 17 Wapu currently occupied. There is a structure on it, but it is not currently in commercial operation. So other than that, he just had a lot of words of encouragement for us and want us to know that infrastructure is the word of the day.
I think that's probably true. Thank you, Michael, for your comments. I was following along as you were posting those. Appreciate your input on that. Teresa and Katie, please send us out reminders about the October 16th event and the October 2nd event, so that we are reminded about those things and we can participate if we are available to do that. Thank you all. This was a very informative and important commission meeting tonight. We covered over 2 hours, a host of improvements that are greatly impacting West Ashley with our road improvements, the Sumar Street site, and the signage and cleanup that Teresa and Kenneth are working on. All those are just so critical to the revitalization of West Ashley, and a lot of things are in the hopper with this. So appreciate y'all's time and work. And we will not meet in October. Probably next meeting will be in November. Eric, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Last meeting of the year will be in November.
And we will. I know Eric wants us to get back together in person. Hopefully, we get this pandemic under control. We can do that. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for your involvement on this and your time. And we'll see y'all hopefully soon. Take care. We are adjourned.
Thank you, guys.